a church.
Yes.
It's service, but it's not just service, it's business. All right, well, I'm going to take a deep breath. Welcome, everybody. I'll say hello, offer you to say hello, then I'll read your bio, and then we'll get started.
Okay.
Welcome to Believers Building Businesses. I'm your host, Craig Clutts. Today, we're blessed to have my dear friend, long friend, Carl Willis with us. Thanks so much for being here, Carl.
Craig, thanks for having me, and thank you to the audience for joining us today.
So the audience knows a little bit of your background. I certainly have lived some of it with you, but so they know a little bit more about you. In your bio, you talk about how you're a faith-driven entrepreneur. I've witnessed that. Digital marketing strategist. A lot of us need that help. And missions catalyst, which I love, who brings a rare blend of marketplace expertise and spiritual depth to every platform. Carl has forged his leadership in pressure-tested environments, from the patrol car as a former police officer to the pulpit as a former senior pastor, and to the boardroom as founder of Simplicity Marketing, Simplicity Investments, and Simplicity Church Network. For over 30 years, he's equipped the kingdom leaders who build enterprises, movements, and lives that echo into eternity. As a proven entrepreneur, Carl has developed cutting-edge strategies in attraction marketing. I'll definitely ask you about that in a little while. And online lead generation that have helped countless small business owners establish marketplace authority and secure competitive advantages. He's leveraged these principles to build a thriving real estate investment portfolio while also traveling extensively to East Africa and India since 2006. Where he has trained entrepreneurs to fund community development, equipped pastors to lead self-sustaining congregations, and catalyzed lasting transformation in challenging environments. His work demonstrates the powerful intersection of strategic business acumen and kingdom impact. Carl's authored 4 books, and through his writing, speaking, mentoring, and consulting, Carl continues to empower entrepreneurs, pastors, and mission-minded individuals to build businesses, ministries, and lives that carry the light of Christ into the sphere of influence. So great to have you on board, Carl. Anything I missed or anything that you'd like to mention before we get started today?
No, that's probably more than enough, and really, it's all Jesus.
Amen.
That's that's just what he
Amen.
does through me.
Yes, we all feel that. Well, our brothers and sisters in Christ that are listening today, they either feel called to launch a business, or they've launched a business, or trying to decide how to grow it. But some of us, whenever we feel called, we're still hesitant. So what advice would you give to the Christian who doesn't feel ready to launch, even though they feel pulled in that direction?
Well, the truth is, you're never ready. So get over that. And
Good
you're going to
advice.
fail. So let's just get that out of the way. You're going to fail. And there's a couple things you need to get comfortable with. Failure is nothing but feedback. So fail often, fail fast, and fail forward. And here's what I mean by that. When you fail, make sure that your head and feet are pointed in the right direction, that they are pointed forward. But get up quickly, brush yourself off, take note of the lessons you need to learn, make the adjustments, and go again. But do that as often as possible and do it as quickly as possible. And continue to refine your processes as you go. I often tell the people who tell me, or asking, how'd you get to where you got? So what you don't see is the 40 failures that came before the successes. What you don't see is all the failed businesses. What you don't see is all the money lost. What you don't see is the sleepless nights. What you don't see is all the train wrecks. Those were all learning experiences. Those were the places where I fine-tuned processes and operations. Those are the places where I learned what did and didn't work. There's the story that's been attributed to Thomas Edison, whether it's true or not, who knows, where he was asked one time, about the 10,000 attempts to produce the incandescent light bulb. And somebody asked him about failing, 10,000 times. And he supposedly said, well, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I simply found 9,999 things that did not work to produce light from a light bulb. Now,
Right.
whether that's true or not, I don't know, but the principle is accurate. We don't get to our success if we don't try and fail along the way. And what's going to happen is you are going to fine tune your process. And the Pareto principle of 80-20
Mm.
applies almost across the board with everything. 20% of your marketing campaigns are going to produce 80% of your results. 20% of your customers or clients are going to produce 80% of your revenue. 20% of your employees are going to produce 80% of your results internally. It's just going to be the way things work. 20% of your activities are going to produce 80% of your day-to-day results. And so through this process, you're going to figure out your efficiencies. And one of the things that I'm constantly encouraging entrepreneurs is figure out what that 20% is and jettison everything else so that
Yes.
your focus is laser sharp.
That's so good. I went to a conference last year, and one of the speakers was a pastor. He was talking about how Samuel went to Jesse's house and he was searching for David, not knowing who he's looking for. And the seven sons that were in the house were really seven no's. And he's like, okay, well, there's got to be someone else. Oh, well, yeah, we have this son that's out taking care of the sheep. Yeah, go ahead and call him. And the summary of his story was that the no's lost their power when the yes walked in the room.
Yes,
And I love how you said that failure is feedback because we do all experience it. And we just have to step out in faith and see what God wants us to learn, right?
that's right. You can't be afraid of it. And I really want to reiterate, you're never ready.
Mm,
Because
that's
even when
good.
you get going and you reach quote unquote success, all you've done is you've unlocked the next set of challenges that you're still going to have to go through and overcome and fail some more because you're going to have to refine those processes. There's the old saying, the higher the levels, the higher the devils. So as your
Mm,
business grows, there's a whole new set of failures you're going to have to experience to refine those processes.
wow.
And running the $100,000 a year business takes more skill than running the $25,000 a year business. And running the $1 million a year business takes more skill than the $100,000 a year business. And the eight-figure business takes more skill and a different skill set. And so every level is going to require a new
Mm,
set of skills, a new mindset, a new team. In fact, the
that's
people that
good.
got you to one point are not going to be the same people that get you to the next.
That's great. I love that. Before we started the interview, you and I were sharing, I feel like we're connected in lots of ways. We're connected through Christ, but we're connected through service, you as a police officer, me in the Navy. And I feel like some of the challenges that we have as a veteran service oriented mindset is something that we share as Christians too, that, maybe we feel like we should be serving God through this calling of business, but how do we relate that to the marketplace? How do we overcome that turmoil of, well, I really want to just do this for this person versus we've got to run a business because if we run it in the ground, it's not going to be there. And God called us to have that business. What would you have to say to our listeners about that?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Coming from a service background, we just want to give everything away. That's the tough part. But the truth is, we are a pipeline of God's resources, and we have
Mm,
to look at things from a more holistic viewpoint. And what God has really done is we're called to serve At the same time, we're also called to resource, and that is part of our service. And what really helped me to grow in this area is to realize that I am a pipeline of his resources to people who need his resources for the dreams that he has put in their life. So in my particular scenario, there are people who are starting businesses, schools, ministries, that if I don't show up and do my work, and if I don't charge an appropriate price point for what I do, if I don't deliver well, then their dreams don't take place. There is no
Mm.
money to fund the things that I am choosing to invest in for them because I haven't done the right thing. And what that's going to require of you as an entrepreneur, quite honestly, is you're going to have to get over your money hangups, because
Mm.
most of us coming out of this service mindset or coming out of this background, truth is we have a money thermostat that's probably set way too low, and we're going to have to raise that thermostat level quite a bit because we're comfortable. What Craig and I were talking about, Craig coming out of the Navy, he can live for months out of his sea bag. And I was telling him I've taken 2 trips to East Africa in the last couple of years where my luggage got lost. And I've
Terrible.
lived out of a backpack with 2 pairs of underwear, some sweatpants, and a couple of t-shirts for 3 weeks at a time. And
Wow.
so truthfully, I don't need much. And it's easy for me to bring that mentality into my business. And the whole reason that I want to make money is not so I can have a nicer house and the boat and the car and all of those things. It's so that I can be a greater pipeline of God's resources to the people and the things that He is doing in our world today. It is not so I can raise the quality of my life. It is that I can be a greater source of distribution to the things of the kingdom. And so when I realize that everything that I have is his, that all I
Yes.
am is a source of distribution, it changes the way that I look at money. I am nothing more than a pipeline. And so the prayer becomes, help me to be the most efficient pipeline that I can be. And so that requires me to become a better business operator, better systems, better SOPs, the right people in the right places doing their jobs to the best of their ability so that we produce the best results for the people we serve.
That's awesome. That's amazing. One of the things that you triggered as you were talking is my business coach, great believer. As I told him that I wanted to create a nonprofit for pastor couples to host them at sea on a luxury yacht. And the whole purpose of sabbatical charters is to be a catalyst to a sabbatical, right? A sabbatical as a catalyst to a sabbatical. Really just taking the pastor couples away from the church, get them disconnected, making time and space for them to reconnect with God and others, but all of that on a luxury yacht so that they can be at sea in God's creation, but they can be pampered. They don't have to worry about cooking, cleaning. They're just there to be with their creator in his creation. And as I was talking to my business coach about that, I told him one of my goals was to buy a new truck. He's like, well, what kind of truck do you want? I said, well, probably no more than 10 years old, no more than 150,000 miles. He's Craig, you're killing me. He's like, it's okay to have a new truck. Don't you think you're worth it? Don't you think your wife thinks you're worth it? Don't you think God thinks you're worth it? And as I went through that money mind shift change, the one thing that really got me was that point when he said, Craig, you're making me laugh inside. Now I'm picturing you towing a huge yacht down the interstate, towing it with a Yugo. It's like you can't do that, Craig. Like if God's called you to the yacht life to minister, you have to be willing to be in the yacht life. And that's a totally different change. So I love what you said about being that pipeline for in his conduit for work and for the expansion of the kingdom, the magnification of the kingdom. But it's okay if we still have that luggage, right? We don't have to lose our luggage.
That's right. That's right.
God's not trying to put obstacles in our way. He just wants to make sure that we can overcome them when we are faced with them, right?
That's right.
So in your bio, one of the things that I love is through simplicity marketing, you talk about attraction marketing. And as a Christian, I have a hard time thinking that I can sell myself, right? As you attribute everything to me to, it's all God working through me. So it's not me. How do I sell my services? What does it mean when you can help someone with attraction marketing?
So this is really critical. We often feel like I have my business, my product and service. So what I need to do is just go tell everybody what I do. And so we just bombard.
Yep.
And that's really not the way marketing works. What people really want in today's world is they want to work with the best of the best. And
Mm,
so part of this is about positioning yourself with the answers to the questions people are asking for the services, the products that you offer, becoming the expert in your field. And so, what attraction marketing is all about is becoming the expert and the authority in your particular niche or vertical and becoming really inescapable in that niche or vertical, providing the information that your audience is already looking for
mm,
and becoming the go to resource for that information. So, things like podcasts, books, video, social media influence on the particular topic. And what happens is because of that, you're no longer pushing your message out into the market, but your audience starts to raise their hand and say, here I
wow.
am. I was watching your video the other day and want some more information. I'm calling you, I'm filling out your form, I'm scheduling on your calendar. So everything becomes inbound
Mm,
instead of outbound. So what you find is your customers come to you pre-positioned to buy because you've already answered their questions. You've already dealt with their resistance before they get to you. So you've dealt with the sales resistance. You've already established your leadership in the marketplace. So you've dealt with your competition. And so the sales process becomes much simpler. You're not dealing with all of the objections. You're not in a race to the bottom on price, which is critical because what happens so often, if we're just trying to blast our message out without laying proper foundation, is then we get into that quick race to the bottom on price. And if we're not confident, then what happens is we start to discount before anybody's even objected, and
right,
we don't want to get into that scenario.
right.
But what we do really is we want to establish ourselves as the expert, the thought leader, and just the I call it the no-brainer solution to the problem that we're trying to solve. And as entrepreneurs, at the end of the day, that's what we do. We solve problems.
Yes.
That's why we get paid. We are solving somebody's problem for them. But the more specialized we become, the better we get compensated. And I want to
Mm,
drive this home to our audience, Craig. Think about your doctor. Your family practitioner makes a whole lot less than the neurosurgeon.
mm,
You want to be the neurosurgeon in your field. You want to be the specialist. And the specialist makes recommendations that get followed. when that specialist shows up and says, this is what we need to do, you just say, okay, when do we do it? And what's the next step? And that's really who we want to be in our particular industry, the specialist, that people respect your advice. They take your recommendation. They don't ask what it's going to cost. They just follow the advice that's given because they trust and respect your authority, your knowledge, your expertise, because you've already proven yourself in the marketplace.
That's such a great analogy. I've never heard anyone put it that way, and that's what our audience needs to hear. That's what I need to hear. I love that. That's awesome. I do want to be the neurosurgeon. I don't want to be the clerk out front or the person putting the flyer on the door. I do want to be that neurosurgeon. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. So as we're talking about building businesses, you started from a very uh, humble beginning in launching your business. I was in the negative tens of thousands of dollars the first year we incorporated our business. What advice would you have for our listeners about an obstacle or a challenge that you overcame and the lesson that you learned out of it?
Well, the truth is, most entrepreneurs are going to have an overcomer story somewhere.
Mm,
Study most great entrepreneurs at some point, they started in the negative. Um, they slept in their car, you know, somewhere along the way, the story has that dive to it. And of course, Greg, you know our story. We planted a church in Corpus Christi, Texas, and lost everything. And so we started our business empire in a friend's spare bedroom, homeless, on a borrowed laptop. And I watched YouTube videos late at night to learn my craft. That was
wow.
our humble beginning. And just to make it more fun, because this is a podcast or an interview for Christian entrepreneurs, the laptop was a used laptop that was given to me by an atheist, and he used to watch porn videos on it.
Mm,
And he agreed to clean the porn off of it when he gave it to me. So that just to make
wow.
the story more exciting. So that was the start of my business empire. Uh, but the real truth of overcoming obstacles, you're always going to have some obstacle you're going to have to overcome. It's going to be a skill set you need to learn, a mindset you need to break,
Yes.
a deficiency in a resource you don't have, a relationship that needs to come into play that isn't there. There's going to be something that you're going to have to figure out, how do you make that happen? You may need to raise capital. You
Mhm.
may need to find a partner in your venture. There's going to be some piece of the puzzle that's not there that's going to have to come into play. Now, let me say this. Most of the time, we get stuck on, how do I do this? Or what is this thing I need to do? But what I find in the kingdom is normally that's the wrong question. Generally, the question is who?
Mm,
Who needs to be
interesting.
in the picture with me to make this complete? So I have learned that over the years. I get stuck on, how am I going to do this, or what do I need to do next? And 99% of the time, the answer is who. Who
Wow.
needs to be in the picture with me? And if I find myself in a holding pattern, it's because the who hasn't shown up yet. And so I want to encourage our listeners and our viewers, start asking about the who. Who else needs to be alongside of me? It may be somebody to encourage you. It may be a mentor. It may be a coach. Maybe it's a book you need to read. Maybe it's a video you need to watch that's going to open your eyes or expand your thought processes or teach you that skill set that you need. And that's going to be the thing that unlocks that missing component for you to just set everything in motion.
I think you're so right. I think this is so good. I immediately think about how independent I've always felt personally, but then it was kind of forced upon me in the Navy. I deployed to Iraq. I was the only officer with 83 Seabees. There was no one else that could do my job where I was by design. No one else had that authority. I was alone. But my who in that environment were actually the Marine Corps officers that were in the camp right next to me. And God helped me see that. And so I would just go spend 30 minutes in their office every other day or whatever it was, just to make sure that I had that boost, that resetting, that support that I needed for that next day, that next challenge. And who knows what that's going to be. But I love the mindset of who. I think that's so powerful. I think that's why God had Alicia and I retire in California. We didn't think we would stay in California. We were Charleston, South Carolina, or bust. But we stayed in California for two reasons. One, we really wanted our kids to stay in the same high school. But two, we were already in a marketplace ministry in our church. And that who surrounded us and helped us launch our business. What a blessing to hang out with you today, Carl. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before we close out?
Well, I think I want to end with this. Remember that the real purpose for your business comes down to one thing and one thing only, and that's to make disciples. At the end of the day,
Amen.
it's not to make money, it's not to build a legacy, that it's to make disciples. That the reason you are starting a business is to put you in contact with people. And every day as you're in contact with people, whether that's your employees, your vendors, your clients, your customers, Jesus is going to use your life to engage the lives of the people that he puts in front of you. He is going to love them through you. You're going to have opportunities to pray with them, to cry with them, to rejoice with them. And if you will every day commit your life to be his vessel, you will see some of those people give their lives to him.
Yes.
You will have opportunities to walk with them through their highs and lows.
Yes.
You will see God transform the world around you, and you will be amazed at the places he takes you simply because you said yes. And
Wow.
he'll use this business of yours to do that. My business has taken me to Pakistan, to India, to
Mm.
Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, to Qatar, to the UAE, to Colombia, to places I never imagined, and has put me into the lives of people and put me in their homes in places that I never would have dreamed that it was going to take me. Just simply because I said, yes, here I am, use me,
Yes.
use these
Amen.
hands of mine, they are yours. And you take and do with this business what you want to do with it. All I ask is make me the biggest pipeline of your resources that I can be.
So good. That's amazing. What a great way to end. Thank you so much, Carl. God bless you, your wife, your family. We're so excited to see what else God has for you next.
Thank you, Craig. It's been good to be here.